There is a silent frequency that only certain souls are tuned to, a vibration of intelligence that society doesn't dare to name, a current of perception that flows beneath the deafening noise of the everyday world. If you've ever felt like you see the strings while others only see the puppets, if you felt a quiet, formidable power stirring within you that the world seems to fear, then understand that this message is not an accident. It is your destiny finding you. This is a divine appointment, a call to your higher self. Stay and awaken to the profound truth of who you are. If this message resonates deep within your soul, comment, "I am awake," to claim this truth. Like this video and subscribe, because your journey into the shadows has just begun. This secret intelligence is not found in the hallowed halls of academia or the dusty pages of history books. It is a primal knowing, an intuitive mastery that cannot be taught, only awakened. No professor will ever lecture on its principles. No guru will chart its course for you, because its very existence challenges the fragile structures of the world. Yet, when its presence is felt, it sends a ripple of primal fear through the hearts of those who operate on the surface. They feel an unspoken authority, a depth they cannot fathom, and it terrifies them. This intelligence doesn't need a spotlight. It has no desire for the fleeting warmth of applause. It operates in the stillness, in the quiet observation between words. It moves through the shadows of human interaction, unseen, unheard. Yet its effects are as precise and impactful as a surgeon's scalpel, cutting through illusion to reveal the raw truth of every situation. You know this type, don't you? You've seen this energy in motion. It's the man in the boardroom who never raises his voice. Yet with a single, carefully chosen phrase, he shifts the entire dynamic of the room, bending the will of louder, more aggressive men to his own design. He doesn't command, he influences. His power is not in volume, but in vibration. It's the woman at the social gathering who offers a polite, disarming smile, all the while weaving a complex web of influence, pulling strings no one else can see. Her grace is a form of spiritual armor, her kindness a strategic tool. While others are lost in the performance of social games, she is the silent director of the entire play. These beings don't speak often, for they understand that words are currency, and they refuse to spend them carelessly. But when they do choose to speak, the world falls silent to listen. People listen not because of the force of their shout, but because of the undeniable weight of their truth. Every word they utter is a weapon, forged in the fires of silent observation and deep understanding. This is the essence of dark intelligence. It is the art of seeing the unseen, hearing the unspoken, and moving with a power that requires no announcement. And once you truly awaken to it, once you integrate this divine perception into your being, your world will be shattered and remade. You will never see reality through the same naive eyes again. This is because a mind aligned with this frequency does not merely react to the world. It engages with it on a level of profound mastery. It doesn't flail against the currents of chaos. It watches the tides, understands their patterns, and positions itself to harness their power. This mind does not beg for validation or plead for its place. It simply claims it through stillness and strategy. It doesn't engage in loud, messy fights that drain precious energy. It ends conflicts before they even begin, with a quiet word, a subtle action, a strategic withdrawal that leaves others questioning their own reality. Niccolo Machiavelli, a master observer of human power, didn't admire intellect for its flashy brilliance or its ability to win debates. He admired it for its danger, for its capacity to dominate without ever being seen as the aggressor. He understood the fox is more powerful than the lion, not through strength, but through a superior understanding of the terrain. If you feel that you've always known you're different, not softer, but sharper, not louder, but deeper, then this message is your confirmation. You are being called to unlock this dormant power. And once you do, you will shed the skin of the ordinary forever. They will never tell you this. Not in school, where they teach you to conform. Not in books, where they sanitize the raw nature of power. And certainly not in polite society, where everyone wears a mask to hide their true intentions. Why? Because if the masses truly understood how dark intelligence operates, The existing power structures, built on noise and illusion, would crumble. They would fear you long before you ever lifted a finger, because they would sense that you see through their game. The awakening to this power doesn't begin with learning more facts. It begins by noticing everything. It begins with a shift in your perception from a participant to an observer. At first, you simply become quiet. You find more power in observing than in speaking. You listen to people, not just to their words, but to the spaces between them. You listen long enough to hear the subtle cracks in their stories, the faint tremors of insecurity in their boasts, the silent pleas hidden behind their anger. You find yourself smiling at jokes that aren't funny, not because you're amused, but because you're watching. You're observing who is desperate for approval, who is performing for the crowd, and who is hiding in plain sight. In this phase, you are not yet cold, but you are cooling. The fire of emotional reaction is being transmuted into the focused light of pure observation. You begin to see that the world around you runs on a peculiar kind of madness. People fight with ferocious passion over things that hold no real value. They defend lies with more conviction than they defend their own souls, simply to protect the fragile construct of their ego. You notice how they talk loudly when they're afraid, and how they pretend to be strong when they are silently falling apart inside. You are watching it all, and slowly, like a hidden message revealed under a black light, you start to see the code behind the chaos. The awakening starts with one simple, unshakable truth. People are predictable, especially when they think they're safe. Their patterns of desire, fear, and pride are the keys to understanding their next move. And that feeling of safety, that comfortable illusion they wrap themselves in, that's where you slip in, silently, invisibly. You learn to ask the right questions, not to get answers, but to make people reveal themselves. You give them the gift of silence, and let their own discomfort expose their hidden motives and deepest fears. You let their raw emotions write their confessions for them. And while they mistake your silence for weakness, your quietness for harmlessness, you are gathering information, quietly, completely. Dark intelligence doesn't need noise. It operates in the sacred stillness. It thrives in the very spaces where others feel too comfortable to guard themselves. And as you practice this, slowly, your mind begins to change. A divine metamorphosis takes place. You no longer see people for who they pretend to be. You see them for their utility, their weaknesses, their leverage, and their risk. You see the liar before they speak, the insecure before they show off, the traitor before they betray. In the chess game of life, you become 5 steps ahead of everyone else. Not because you're smarter, but because your mind is no longer clouded by emotional storms. It has become tactical. That, right there, is the turning point. The true awakening is not when you get smarter, but when you stop being naive. You realize that objective truth doesn't matter nearly as much as what people believe to be true. You understand that trust is not a virtue, but a strategic tool to be granted with extreme prejudice. You accept the sobering reality that most people are lying not just to you but to themselves every single day. And if you can learn to control their illusions, you can control them. This is the heart of dark intelligence. It's not about IQ, it's not about charm, and it's not about hard work. It is control through perception. You begin to use your words like weapons, measured, intentional, never wasted. You drop truths like carefully administered doses of poison, slow, untraceable, and irreversible. You stop defending yourself. You stop explaining your decisions. You stop reacting to disrespect. Why? Because now you know how to make people regret it without a single moment of confrontation. You're no longer playing the game by their rules. You're bending the game to fit your design. You never show your full mind. You don't share your goals. You don't let people know when they've hurt you, because in your world, pain is just more data. You're becoming someone else, not cold, not cruel, strategic. This is the silent metamorphosis, the phase Machiavelli admired the most. It's the moment a person stops trying to fit into a broken world and starts reshaping it. And the best part? No one knows what you've become until it's far too late. They think you're still harmless, still innocent, still just quiet. They don't realize they're already caught in your net, a net you've been weaving for months, maybe years. Now, you don't need power. You are power. This is how dark intelligence is born. Not in a flash of genius, but in long, quiet hours of watching, understanding, and building a mind so dangerous it never needs to announce itself. Welcome to the new version of you. The version that doesn't chase anything, because now everything comes to you, and no one will see it coming. Now that you've crossed the threshold, you must understand the 5 core traits of the dangerously intelligent. You've stopped trying to be liked. You've started listening more than you speak. And now, you're not just intelligent, you're becoming dangerous. But what does that truly mean? It means you've started developing traits that normal people fear, even if they can't name them. Here are the 5 core traits. Each one silent, each one lethal. Trait 1. Emotional disconnection. The first thing others notice about you is your unnerving calm. You don't react like they expect. You don't flinch at insults. You don't break down under pressure. This is because you are no longer controlled by emotion. You've disconnected from it. You don't suppress feelings. You study them. Your anger becomes analysis. Your sadness becomes strategy. Your fear becomes foresight. You don't let your emotions choose your actions. You let them reveal the emotional weaknesses of others. While they scream and panic, you sit in silence, calculating. That silence is not emptiness. It's the sound of a mind sharpening. Trait 2. Surgical observation. You no longer just look at people, you dissect them. You watch their hands when they speak, their eyes when they lie, their tone when they want something. You hear what isn't said. You feel the shift in tension when someone is hiding something. You don't need them to confess, you already know. This trait makes you unnerving. People feel seen around you, exposed, and it terrifies them because deep down, they know you can sense their weakness. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." You understand this. You expect betrayal, so you watch for it before it even forms. Trait 3. Controlled presence. When you enter a room, you don't need to speak to be noticed. Your presence is intentional. Your silence is louder than most people shouting. Why? Because you're not trying to be interesting. You're trying to be unreadable. The dangerously intelligent understand the power of mystery. You reveal just enough to earn curiosity, but never enough to be predictable. People fear what they don't understand, and you give them just enough uncertainty to keep them cautious. You've learned that power doesn't come from being everywhere. It comes from being missed when you're not there. You become rare, and rarity is power. Trait 4. Strategic speech. Most people speak to fill silence. You speak to plant ideas. Every word is a move, every sentence a signal. You use pauses, tone, and questions like weapons. You don't convince. You lead people to convince themselves. You speak with surgical precision to distract, to unsettle, to influence. You know when to compliment, you know when to say nothing, and you know that silence often has more impact than argument. This makes you dangerous, because once you open your mouth, the conversation bends in your favor not by force, but by invisible persuasion. Trait 5. Unshakable self-reliance. The final trait is the one that breaks most people but builds the dangerously intelligent. You no longer need anyone. You don't need praise. You don't need recognition. You don't even need to be understood, because you've become your own source of validation. And when someone has nothing left to prove, they become untouchable. People try to control others through guilt, shame, and obligation, but none of those work on you anymore. You've buried the old version of yourself, the one who begged for clarity, loyalty, or affection. Now you move like a ghost. You appear when it's strategic and disappear when it's time to let them feel your absence. This makes you more powerful than any title or weapon, because the man who needs nothing can't be manipulated by anything. These 5 traits don't make you human in the way others expect. They make you an anomaly, a force in a world of noise. And because they can't quite explain why, you make them uneasy. That's dark intelligence. And you've only just begun. Dark intelligence means nothing if it isn't applied. Power without action is just a secret. So now, we move from observation to execution. You've developed the traits. You've sharpened the blade. Now it's time to use the weapon. Here's how you use dark intelligence in plain sight, every day, without ever being detected. 1. Control conversations without dominating them. Most people speak to win, you speak to guide. Let others talk. Let them expose themselves. Your goal is not to impress, it's to extract data. Ask questions that look innocent but slice into their mind. Why do you think that? How did that make you feel? What happened after that? These questions lower their defenses. They make people feel seen, but what you're really doing is locating leverage. Then, say just enough to shift their thinking, never enough to reveal your own. You're not in the conversation, you're controlling it from the inside. 2. Use silence as pressure. Most people can't handle silence. They rush to fill it, explain themselves, justify, apologize. But you weaponize silence. Someone tries to manipulate you? Say nothing. Let them drown in their own guilt. They expect resistance, you give them stillness. And that stillness feels like power, because it is. Pause before you speak. Look at people a moment too long. Let them feel the weight of being seen. That discomfort, that's control. You didn't raise your voice, you didn't need to. They felt your presence without sound. 3. Mirror their emotions, then redirect them. If someone's angry, match their energy. If they're insecure, act unsure. If they're proud, play humble. Then, turn the mirror around. Twist their own emotions to guide them. Anger redirected at a third party. Insecurity offered a false compliment that ties them to your goal. Pride met with flattery to position them where you need them. This is how manipulation works without force. You don't push people. You let them walk where you want them to go, willingly, and they'll think it was their idea. 4. Reveal your intentions only after you've won. Never announce your plans. Never explain your motives. Let people misunderstand you. Let them misjudge you. Let them underestimate you. Then, when the outcome favors you, reveal the truth, quietly, coldly. They'll realize too late they were part of your strategy all along. And nothing haunts a person more than realizing they helped build their own defeat. That's power. That's dark intelligence at work. 5. Never use power emotionally. This is where most people fail. They get emotional. They punish to feel better. They attack to prove a point. You act with cold intention. If you remove someone, do it cleanly. No shouting, no public spectacle, no emotional debris. Just a quiet exile, a door closed without warning. If someone crosses you, never react in the moment. Wait, gather, strike when it benefits you, not your ego. Because dark intelligence isn't about revenge, it's about calculated correction. Make your responses feel like the universe is correcting a mistake, not like you're holding a grudge. 6. Hide your depth. Never show your full mind. People respect intelligence, but they fear what they don't understand. So give them 60%, just enough to seem sharp, never enough to reveal your strategy. If they think they understand you, they'll feel safe. And when people feel safe, they get sloppy. That's when you make your moves. The smartest move. Let them think they're smarter than you. Let them walk into the trap you built with their help. You don't need a throne to rule. You don't need status to win. Dark intelligence is silent domination. The power to move people, influence outcomes, and control your environment without being seen as the source. That's what Machiavelli meant when he praised the fox over the lion. Anyone can roar, but the fox wins by knowing where to step and who to bite when no one's watching. By now, your mind isn't just sharp, it's weaponized, and they won't know it until it's too late. The most dangerous arena isn't war, it isn't politics, it's relationships. This is where most people lose themselves, where they trade logic for emotion, where they beg, explain, and surrender their power in the name of love, loyalty, or guilt. But when you operate with dark intelligence, Relationships no longer become emotional traps. They become power structures, each one a battlefield where control is either claimed or lost. You begin to see the game clearly. Every conversation is a negotiation, every compliment a possible bribe, every silence a signal. Most people reveal their intent too early. They want to be liked, they want to be understood, so they give away their fears, their pain, their history, all in the hope of being accepted. You, however, stay quiet, not because you're cold, but because you're calculating. You let others talk first. Let them expose their patterns. Let them wrap the rope around themselves, not realizing you're handing it to them. You don't reveal your past. You don't explain your standards. You don't correct misunderstandings. Because the less they know, the less they can use. And yet, you know everything about them. They don't realize how much they're giving away when they speak. You pick up on the insecurity buried in their sarcasm, the weakness behind their confidence, the hidden motive behind their kindness. And when people try to test you, you don't resist. You vanish. Because in your world, disrespect isn't confronted, it's disqualified. You understand what most never will. Your silence is more frightening than your anger. They expect an argument. They expect an emotional reaction. But when you disappear instead, they start to reflect. They start to panic. They start to see you not as someone they control, but as someone they lost. This is the power of emotional distance. It makes you rare. It makes you untouchable. Soon, people begin to adjust their behavior around you, not because you demand it, but because they feel your standards without hearing them. They sense that you're different. You're not trying to be liked. You're not trying to fix them. You're not available the way others are. And that mystery, it turns into control. Not through fear, not through love, but through an unspoken understanding that you are not someone they can manipulate. People learn that affection won't buy access, that loyalty without strategy means nothing, that proximity is a privilege you can revoke at any time. You don't punish with words, you punish with absence. And nothing haunts a manipulator more than being ignored by the one they couldn't control. Dark intelligence doesn't make you heartless, it makes you precise. You don't form emotional attachments by default. You choose who sees you, and even then, you never let them see all of you. This is what separates you from everyone else. They run toward validation. You run toward clarity. They offer love to avoid being alone. You offer silence to reveal their desperation. They demand answers. You offer stillness. And that stillness becomes terrifying because it means you saw through them and decided they weren't worth responding to. By now, you don't chase apologies. You don't argue your value. You don't repeat your expectations. You simply disappear when the energy turns false. And those left behind are forced to ask themselves why. That's when the regret begins. You never raised your voice. You never explained yourself. But your absence said everything. This is how you win power in relationships, not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. You don't need affection. You don't need approval. You don't even need to be understood, because you've built something far more powerful. A presence that can't be controlled, and a mind that no one dares play games with. And that is how you dominate in silence. By now, something has changed in you. You don't react like you used to. You don't explain, argue, or overextend. You've become still, but not passive. You've become quiet, but not weak. That's what dark intelligence does. It refines you into a weapon that doesn't need to be drawn. You can walk into a room and say nothing, yet every eye turns. Not because of charm, not because of performance, but because you carry a presence that feels unpredictable and untouchable. You have no need to dominate, because you've already outgrown the game. People underestimate you, and that is your favorite part. You've learned to wear masks when needed, speak in layers, and leave no fingerprints behind your influence. You've become unreadable, unshakable, unstoppable. This is the final form, not a loud genius, not a public mastermind, but a ghost in the system, moving the pieces while others beg to understand the rules. You don't seek revenge, you erase people. You don't need to win arguments, you win outcomes. Because real power isn't shown, it's felt. And you You've become the kind of person who doesn't need to be seen to be feared. The kind of person who doesn't chase but attracts. Who doesn't react but designs. Who doesn't break but watches others collapse under the weight of your silence. You've stopped playing their game and started creating your own. That's what happens when intelligence turns cold, when observation becomes prediction, when emotion is no longer your master but your tool. This is not about being better, it's about being smarter than the system itself. Machiavelli would say, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. But dark intelligence gives you a third path, control, without either. They don't need to love you, they don't need to fear you, they just need to know you're watching. Silently, carefully, permanently. And now, if you've made it this far, you're not just curious, you're ready. Ready to stop being predictable, ready to stop being manipulated, ready to become dangerously intelligent. So here's your next move. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and step deeper into the world where power is silent and intelligence is lethal. Because this is just the beginning.